tonight. Protests around the country call for justice for Breonna Taylor and
well, we're going to have to see what happens.
A growing election concern whether President Trump will willingly step aside if he loses. Plus, the American economy takes another hit as the latest unemployment numbers tick up. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
"40 days until the presidential election, and new polling shows a tightening race in some key swing states. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Bratter.
Hello, everyone, and I'm John Jessup. Arizona and Florida, both states President Trump won in 2016, both crucial swing states again on the road to an electoral victory.
And now polling showing the president barely holding on to a lead in each. Based on data from ABC News and the Washington Post, in Florida, President Trump leads Joe Biden by just 4 points. And in Arizona, he's edging out Biden by just 1 point, with 49% backing the president and 48% backing the former vice president. Both states fall within the margin of error.
The president, or tonight actually rather, questions about whether President Trump will step aside in a peaceful transition of power if he loses or if he'll go down swinging.
The top Republicans are pushing back after the president suggested he might not accept the election results if Democrat Joe Biden prevails in November.
CBN's Tara Mergener reports on the dust-up over the president's comments and how the White House tried to clear it up.
As reactions swirled, a reminder of Hillary Clinton's advice just last month.
Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstance.
White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany suggested today the same question be asked of Democrats.
The president will accept the results of a free and fair election, but I think that your question is more fitting to be asked of Democrats who have already been on the record saying they won't accept the results of an election.
President Trump's comments came Wednesday while answering questions at the White House.
Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that.
With 40 days until the election, the president is casting doubt on the integrity of the results, including a months-long campaign against mail-in voting this November. This as more states are encouraging it during the pandemic.
The election is rigged.
The Democrats are trying to rig this election.
But some Republicans, Mitt Romney among them, tweeting any suggestion that a president might not respect this constitutional guarantee is both unthinkable and unacceptable. The Heritage Foundation's Hans von Spakovsky believes the president would only hold up the process if there are doubts about the election.
Issues that rightfully lead to contesting the outcome, that he would wait and see if anything like that was happening before he would decide what to do on conceding or not conceding the election.
At her weekly press briefing, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had this to say to the president.
So why don't you just try for a moment to honor your oath of office to the Constitution of the United States?
All right, thank you. That was CBN's Tara Mergener. Well, the president and First Lady paid their respects to the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg today. The president says the High Court needs a full bench of 9 justices before the election, and that possibility is looking increasingly likely. CBN's Dale Hurd explains.
President Trump is urging swift confirmation of his yet-to-be-announced Supreme Court nominee, saying he expects the High Court will have to resolve the election outcome.
I think this will end up in the Supreme Court. I think it's very important to have a 9th justice.
And it now looks nearly impossible for Democrats to block the president from seating his 3rd Supreme Court justice.
I'm not going to be critical.
Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski, once viewed as a potential obstacle to a Supreme Court nomination happening before the election, now says she can't rule out voting for the Republican nominee. The president and First Lady Melania Trump, both wearing masks, paid their respects at the flag-draped coffin of Justice Ginsburg at the top of the steps of the Supreme Court this morning. Anti-Trump demonstrators interrupted the moment with boos and chants of "Vote him out." The president's top two contenders to succeed Ginsburg on the court remain federal judges Amy Coney Barrett and Barbara Lagoa.
Barbara Lagoa.
She's an extraordinary person. I've heard incredible things about her.
She's the daughter of Cuban immigrants who came to the United States after Fidel Castro took power in Cuba.
Politico is reporting disagreement among Republican leaders over which choice would be best. Barrett because of her strong Catholic faith and pro-life reputation, or Lagoa as a way of picking up Hispanic votes. But by all accounts, the frontrunner seems to remain Barrett. We'll find out who it is Saturday when the president is set to announce his nominee. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Dale. And we are joined now by Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, the president wants 9 justices by Election Day. Will he get that?
Yeah, he'll get them because they're going to have a vote on this 9th justice, and there you go. I mean, that's just the name of the game, Jenna. And so he'll get his 9. And if you think about it, wouldn't Democrats want 9 as well? I mean, I understand if they figure if they get 9, then they're going to lose a Supreme Court battle. But quite frankly, at 4-4, it could be a stalemate. And if it's at 4-4 and a stalemate, then what exactly? Then there's a lot of chaos at that point. And I'm not suggesting Trump would remain in office, but there'll be a lot of unanswered constitutional questions at that point.
So along those lines, on the transfer of power, David, is the president just giving his typical Trump bravado, or do you think the president would actually put up a fight if he doesn't win re-election?
No, I don't think this is bravado at all. I mean, I think he's dead serious. And here's what let me be very clear, John and Jenna, what I mean by dead serious. He's dead serious about taking this into the courts. I mean, this has been the story of Donald Trump's life. That's what he's done ever since he was a billionaire in Manhattan. He has fought for his life, if you will, in the courts, and he'll do it again. I anticipate that this will probably end up going to the Supreme Court sometime, get decided in December. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that's the final result. Now, obviously, if there's a landslide, it's a different matter. But if this is a close election, it's definitely going to the courts. And so, therefore, the fact that Trump says, well, I'm going to wait and see how it plays out, you know, it really isn't very you know, it isn't something you would normally say as a president, but at the same time, this is Donald Trump. It doesn't surprise me. It's not bravado.
So, David, we reported on those polls where the president holds a slight advantage in some key swing states. How much do you trust polls this time around, David?
Well, we talked about polls for a long time. Remember what I said. Come September and into October, the polls will be a little bit more accurate because they'll be more with likely voters than registered voters. And so, you know, you have to look at the poll. Most of these polls today are likely voters. They're not registered voters. So it gives you a little bit more accuracy for sure. Having said that, here's my short answer. I don't trust any of these polls. I have no idea exactly what's going to happen on election night, and neither do either one of you or really anybody in the country. So there's no way. Yeah.
No way to predict. David, just 30 seconds left. In the 40 days until election, we've got the pandemic, we've got the SCOTUS pick, and we've got so many other things. What do you see as the biggest issue ahead of the polls?
Well, there is the pandemic, there's law and order, there's all of that. Here's what I really think it boils down to: Trump fatigue. That's it. You know, the folks that voted for Trump the first time around, are they going to say, "Oi, Gavolt, enough is enough, it's too much Excedrin"? If they do, then he's done. It's really that simple. And suburban women may just say, look, enough of the drama. I'm done with days of our lives every day from this White House. So I think that might be the overriding issue here.
All right. CBN political analyst David Brody. David, thanks so much for your insights.
Thanks, guys.
Well, to the economy, the number of people seeking unemployment is up slightly. That number rising to 870,000 last week, a historically high figure that shows the pandemic is still squeezing many businesses. At the same time, though, the Labor Department says the number of people continuing to receive unemployment has actually declined to 12.6 million. The steady drop over the past few months coming as some of the unemployed are being rehired or they've used up their regular jobless aid, which lasts 6 months in most states.
Well, like most Thursdays, we're joined by Washington Bureau Chief and Senior Economic Analyst at Bankrate, Mark Hamrick. Mark, it's always a treat to see you.
Great to be with you.
Mark, the weekly downward trend was short-lived. Was this to be expected?
I think volatility and the continuing elevated nature of these claims is to be expected. The exact numbers, a little like trying to bet on the exact score of a football game, which I wouldn't encourage. But John, here's really what I think is going on here. First of all, we are recovering many of the jobs that were lost earlier in the year. Remember, 22 million in March and April. However, we've only restored about half of those. And beneath the surface of that recovery, job loss is continuing. And I think by now, most of us know what the prime suspects are for some of those job losses. It's leisure and hospitality, bars and restaurants, retailers. And we know that many of these smallest businesses are really continuing to struggle if they haven't closed shop already. We're seeing this data from the likes of Yelp. Significant numbers of these businesses seem to be closing permanently, and that will translate to permanent job loss, and that'll be a real challenge for those who've lost their jobs to figure out what to do next.
Mark, talk about some of the states seeing an increase in unemployment and why it is that these particular states are seeing it.
Jenna, great question, and one of the reasons for this has been something that's been pretty consistent, and that is how the virus emerges or in some cases flares back up. And so in the latest case, the leading edge of state job loss, again, is evident here. California, where we have more than 200,000 new claims. And we also have New York and New Jersey, again, early on in the crisis. But these are also dense population areas, so there's risk associated with that. And then one came back to haunt us here, Georgia. So I do think that these cooler months, particularly in parts of the country where the four seasons are relevant, are going to be something to watch as people have to stay indoors. Businesses will not be able to cater to people outside as they have to try to get by here lately, and then whatever the virus is going to do.
Mark, I know Bankrate has a survey that it just published that looks at how difficult it is for Americans to pay their bills. What were you able to learn from that recent survey that looked into specifically catching up or falling behind in bills?
Right. So coming into this crisis, John, we knew that many Americans were basically living paycheck to paycheck. And then what happened? The paychecks ended. So our latest survey continues to find that a significant number of Americans are making just getting caught up or staying current on their bills is a high priority. Other Americans are trying to save money during this time. And our survey that you can check out at bankrate.com talks about the number of Americans who are either succeeding with this, and many are, most are, but yet some are only basically marching in place with their priorities, and others are falling behind, a smaller number. Much the same as many Americans are doing just fine now, but others are falling behind with respect to their employment and their incomes, and then by extension, their financial goals.
All right, Mark Hamrick with Bankrate. Mark, we always appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, cries of injustice in the case of Breonna Taylor. Coming up, the latest on the racial unrest in Louisville.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today.
Wait. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Tonight, 2 Louisville police officers are recovering from gunshots during violent protests overnight. A suspect has been arrested over the shooting.
And Jenna, the demonstrations follow a Kentucky grand jury's decision not to bring charges against any Louisville police officers for killing Breonna Taylor. CBN national security correspondent Eric Phillips joins us now with more.
Eric, clearly many unhappy with the grand jury and its decision.
Well, absolutely, Jenna, and not just in Louisville, Kentucky, but also elsewhere. Officials in cities across the nation anticipated uproar after this decision. That's because after waiting months for a jury's decision, what finally emerged was not what many wanted to hear.
We have an officer down.
Word spread quickly, confirming the shooting of 2 Louisville officers during violence that emerged as the city neared curfew. Fortunately, both wounds were not life-threatening. Kentucky's governor deploying 500 National Guard members to help.
I am very concerned about the safety of our officers.
Protests popped up across the country after the grand jury returned 3 indictments against former officer Brett Hankison, not for Taylor's death, but for endangering neighbors during what some called a botched operation. The jury found the other officers, Cosgrove and Mattingly, should not be charged after returning fire, even though Cosgrove fired the shot that killed Taylor.
The grand jury agreed that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in the return of deadly fire after having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker.
Pain, anger, and frustration spilled onto the streets as thousands of protesters called for justice, decrying the jury's decision. In Washington, the president expressed well wishes for the injured officers and praised the state attorney general.
Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron is doing a fantastic job. I think he's a star.
When asked directly about the protests, however, this is what the president had to say.
I have a big call. Mr. President, just one more question if I can on Breonna Taylor. People are protesting in the streets. What is your message to them?
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell referenced the unrest on the Senate floor.
I want to sincerely thank all the Kentucky peace officers who continue to put their lives on the line every single day. I hope and expect that our governor and mayor will take every necessary step to secure the justice, peace, law, and order that every Kentuckian deserves.
Former Vice President Joe Biden calling for calm.
Do not sully her memory or her mother's by engaging in any violence. She wouldn't want it, nor would her mother.
While a federal investigation continues into the Taylor shooting, questions Thursday on Capitol Hill about whether the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division does its job in cases like this.
The department now fails to use the full measure of its authority to conduct investigations into these cases and to bring enforcement actions, if appropriate, to prevent these events and other systemic deprivations of constitutional rights from occurring.
Wednesday, the Attorney General said the officers did knock and announce themselves before going into Breonna Taylor's apartment. And he said that there's at least one witness that corroborates that, part of the evidence that was turned over to the grand jury. Now Kentucky's governor is calling on the AG to release to the public all information that the grand jury got in making its decision so that the public can see it for themselves. John and Jenna.
All right, CBN's Eric Phillips. Thank you, Eric. Coming up, the fight for religious freedom in Nigeria. What people of faith there in that African nation are facing after this.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Christians in some Muslim-majority countries sometimes face accusations of insulting Islam and the Prophet Muhammad, which can carry mandatory death penalties.
And Muslims and atheists are not exempt from these strict Islamic laws either. George Thomas highlights the plight of 2 men in jail for insulting Islam in Nigeria.
Frederick Davey, thank you so much for coming on the show. You've adopted 2 Nigerians as part of the Commission's Religious Prisoners of Conscience project. The first gentleman is Mubarak Bala, a prominent atheist activist. Tell us about him and why the Nigerian government arrested him.
Well, theoretically, purportedly they arrested him because they said that he had insulted the Prophet Muhammad by his actions as an atheist and a humanist, primarily because he made a recording where he said that there essentially is no afterlife. That resulted in his being arrested and essentially being separated from his family and his lawyers. He's incommunicado. No one has heard from him since he was arrested.
The second gentleman is Nigerian 22-year-old Yahaya Sharif Aminu. Tell us the details of his case. And he's a Muslim, correct?
He is. He is a gospel singer, and he's reported to have made some comments that were favorable to an imam within his Muslim tradition, which is called Tijanaya. And as a result of that, he was not only accused of blasphemy, but he was convicted of it and sentenced to death for his offense, a purported offense, in a trial that was closed to the public.
Earlier this year, your commission designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Real quickly, describe Nigeria's human rights record.
Well, I can say that our the USCIRF's focus is primarily on how countries respond to people's freedom of religion and belief. And not only has Nigeria itself in several ways violated its own constitution when it comes to freedom of religion and belief by allowing, for example, the Sharia courts to act in a way that's inconsistent with the Nigeria Constitution. It has also allowed non-state actors to seek revenge and retaliation against people for their religious beliefs and expressions or expressions of no belief. And for that reason, this goes on in about 12 of the 36 states of Nigeria, and for that reason, USCIRF has asked the State Department to designate it as a country of particular concern.
The situation for Christians is equally dire today in Nigeria as well, right?
Well, there are a number of instances where people of all beliefs in Nigeria have been denied their right to the freedom of religion and their freedom of belief and expression. And again, it's USCIRF's mission to bring these issues to the attention of the president, the Congress, and the State Department, and then to insist on those governments that are engaged in this activity that they cease and desist, that they annul these or get rid of these blasphemy and apostasy laws and allow people to express their religious faith. In absence of any violence, USCIRF will seek to work with people in these communities that are seeking to have religious freedom and freedom of belief.
Okay, terrific. We'll have to leave it there. Commissioner Davey, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast.
Thank you.
Praying for peace in a divided country. How you can join in. Next.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
And finally tonight, with the country facing a pandemic, polarizing partisanship, what's shaping up to be a bitter presidential election, and protests over racial unrest, faith leaders say it's time to pray for peace in America.
And that is exactly what they'll be doing here in the nation's capital this weekend. People from across the country will be gathering in Washington to pray for America. This event is called The Return. You can watch it live on CBN News. Tune in Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the CBN News Channel, cbnnews.com, and all of our digital platforms. This event and Franklin Graham's as well. It's a big weekend in Washington.
For sure. Have a great night.